Followed by invocation by Chaplain Meade. Oh, or McClellan, either one. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, as we approach your throne tonight, we come with heavy hearts. And Father, we do pray for our firemen that are fighting these fires right now. We ask that you protect them. Lord, those that have lost their lives, we ask that you be with their families. Father, that you draw them closer to you and give them peace and grace that only you can give. And Father, we do pray tonight that, Lord, we need some rain. Lord, we need some moisture. And Father, I'm praying, Lord, that you would answer that. You've said in your word that we have not because we ask not. Lord, you've also said that if we pray anything in your name, that you'd answer and you'd hear us. But Father, I do pray that you'd help us and be with our firefighters as they try to get this under control. I do pray for our police that are patrolling right now. Lord, I'm asking you to protect them, build a hedge around them, get them home safely. We thank you for their service and their families. And Father, we do pray for our mayor and our city council tonight. Lord, as they discuss the issues of our city, we ask that you give them wisdom. But Father, we do pray that we'd seek your face first. And Lord, everything that is said and done here tonight would be that to glorify thy name. For we do ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Creighton.
Here.
Raymond.
Here.
Vieira.
Here.
Vineyard.
Present.
Price.
Here.
We have a quorum. Mayor or City Attorney report out from closed session.
Mr. White, please.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, direction was given to staff, but there was no reportable action taken.
There was no subsequent need items that were brought to our attention, and so we move to approval of agenda as posted or as amended.
Motion to approve.
Second. Call for the question.
Vieira.
Yes.
Vineyard.
Yes.
Creighton.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion passes. Ceremonial matters. Certificates. 4th of July activities.
Okay. See if we can't clear the room a little bit here. Oh, I'm only kidding. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you have noticed, we have quite a gaggle of people here tonight, which are here as a result of our yearly celebration that is put on and done so perfectly, if you will. It's what makes our whole city, just to me, really put on the best face possible that we could ever have. So at this point here, could I have the Atwater 4th of July committee come forward, please? Greg, stop running. Yeah. This is, you know, when I first come to the council, you know, this was one of the positions that we had as part of the duties that, you know, surrounds the council members. And I volunteered for this one, and I am extremely elated that I did. This group of people are the best group of people that I've ever worked with on any level, anytime, anywhere. They can sit down. I mean, this guy right here ramrodded all of us through, and when it comes to doing these different assignments, everyone here has a job. They know what they're going to do. They go out and they do it, and when the 4th of July comes around, you see the end result, and it is really, really just a pleasure, a true honor to stand with these folks here tonight and to honor them. They really, really have put forth the effort every year. Unfortunately, this guy is going to be leaving us, but I'll tell you, the rest of this committee, I have no doubts, is going to be able to carry forward and carry on the tradition that we have here as you know, a city that is looked upon as one of the best 4th of July celebrations that is anywhere in the valley here. So I want to thank you guys, each one of you. You've been a great group to work with, and I look forward to years more in the future with you. And as a small token of our appreciation from the city of Atwater, Greg, I'll let you go ahead and hold that up. Certificate of recognition for the Atwater 4th of July Committee for a job very, very well done. Give them a hand, folks.
Oh, we really, really appreciate it big time. We don't have a gigantic committee because we don't need it. Like Jim was saying, these guys know exactly what to do and they go out and do it, and the only thing I get to do is try to help make their jobs a little easier. It's been a privilege to work with all of these folks, and they've been around a long time, believe it or not, but you don't know who most of them are because they're out there for the glory of being in public or anything. They just work very, very hard, and they put their selves out there in countless number of hours. I've been on the committee for 20-something years. Every year they assign a city council member or mayor to our committee, and until Mayor Price came along, we could take those 20-something years and probably count 4 or 5 times that the city actually sent their representative. Mayor Price was there every meeting. He was there every day we needed work. He did everything from set up bands to help with the bathrooms. I mean, it didn't matter. He was right there with all the rest of us, and there's not a person here that doesn't appreciate the mayor, and we feel appreciated by you all the time. But these folks here really need your support in the future. So please, just because I'm hitting the road doesn't mean you stop supporting these guys.
Yep, very good. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay. Could we have the Atwater volunteers, the police volunteers? Well, there's one here anyway. And Gordon?
Yeah, both of them. We can do like 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Well, this is as much as we have in the way of the Atwater police volunteers. And you know, these guys, you know, when they were going to be recognized for their participation in the 4th of July activities, you know, it was like, we're just doing our job. You know, that's kind of the feedback that we got. But, you know, it takes a lot of coordinating, a lot of patience with people that want to go around barriers and things like that. There is a lot that goes on when it comes to doing all the logistics and the traffic control and everything with that 4th of July parade and all the other things that go along with it. So, Councilmember Vineyard, who is also the head kick for the police volunteers, on behalf of the city of Atwater, please accept this token of our appreciation here. And Manuel Pinto and Gordon, thank you so much for your participation and your help in all of this. We appreciate it. Thank you. And could we have the folks in the Police Activities League? All you guys just make a loop around. Looks like we picked up a few more members here somewhere along the line. Yeah, come on. And these folks here, we want to recognize also, you know, these young cadets are really, really special insofar as When it comes to the business of getting all the cars parked and things along those lines, doing traffic control on a smaller scale, these guys really do a great job. And so tonight we want to recognize them for their assistance and all of the things that they did, and their sponsors and their coordinators here also for getting them out there to help to make this a community event that everyone can be very proud of. And these guys right here, these young adults, are the ones that really helped to put it together. Mr. Madlock, I'm going to present this to you, and you can go ahead and hang that in a place of honor in recognition of the Police Activities League for their participation in our Atwater 4th of July celebration. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Seems to be growing in size again.
And the last time,
Our next item is actually 4th of July committee member retirement.
and that would be you, Greg. One more time. And bring Pinky up here with you. Yeah, bring her up here with you. As Greg mentioned, he's put in 20 years to this, and I'll tell you, you know, some of the stories it tells about when you had like 40 people on the committee, and you know, the old proverbial saying about trying to herd cats, you know, that was kind of the whole thing. And but you know, this guy got a handle on it. The committee now is a manageable number, and everything works out pretty well, as you've already heard. But Greg, in honor of your service and your time here with the committee, we want to give you this to recognize your retirement from that committee here. And for all the folks within the city of Atwater, thank you very much for your time and dedication, and your bride for her participation as well. I know that you guys have had to split your family activities and everything to be part of the whole thing, but it's all still come together. Pinky, thank you so much for your participation, along with Greg. You guys rock.
We love Atwater.
Yes, you do. Thank you all very much.
Proclamation, National Health Center Week.
Okay, this is in recognition of the National Health Center Week. The designation will be from August 8th to August 18th, and the proclamation reads as follows: whereas for over 50 years, community health centers have provided a high-quality, affordable, comprehensive primary and preventive health care in our nation's underserved communities, delivering value to and having a significant impact on America's healthcare system. Locally, Golden Valley Health Care Centers has been serving our community since 1972, and whereas as the country's largest primary care network, health centers are the health care home for 27 million Americans in over 10,000 communities across the nation. 1 in every 12 people in the United States gets their health care in a community health care center. And whereas health care centers are a critical element of the health care system, serving both rural and urban populations and often providing the only accessibility and dependable source of primary care in the communities nationwide. Healthcare centers serve 1 in every 6 residents in rural communities. And whereas every day healthcare centers develop new approaches to integrating a wide range of services beyond primary care, including oral health, vision, behavioral health, and pharmacy services to meet the needs and challenges of their communities. And whereas health care centers are governed by patient majority boards, ensuring that patients of each health care center are encouraged in their own health care decisions. And whereas healthcare centers are locally owned and operated by small businesses that serve our critical economic engines, helping to power local economies by generating $45.6 billion in economic impact in some of the country's most economically deprived communities. And whereas community health centers nationally employ more than 200,000 people, including physicians, nurse practitioners, behavioral health specialists, physician's assistants, and certified nurse midwives who work as part of the multidisciplinary clinical teams designed to treat the whole patient. Golden Valley Health Centers has a team of over 900 people. And whereas the healthcare center model continues to provide an effective means of overcoming barriers in healthcare access, including geography, income, and insurance status, and in doing so, improves healthcare outcomes and reduces healthcare system costs. And whereas healthcare centers reduce overall cost of care by helping manage patients' chronic conditions, which keeps them out of the costlier, that's a good word, healthcare settings like hospital emergency rooms. And whereas healthcare centers are on the front lines of emerging healthcare crisis, providing access to care for our nation's veterans, homeless communities, addressing the opioid epidemic, and responding to public health threats in the wake of natural disasters. And whereas National Healthcare Week offers the opportunity to recognize America's nearly 1,400 health center organizations with over 10,400 service delivery sites, their dedicated staff, board members, patients, and all those responsible for their continued success and growth since the first health centers opened their doors more than 50 years ago. And whereas during the National Health Center Week, we celebrate the legacy of America's health centers and their vital role in shaping the past, present, and future of America's healthcare system. Now, therefore, I, James E. Price, Mayor of the City of Atwater, do hereby proclaim August 12th through the 18th, 2018, as National Health Center Week. I encourage all Americans to take part in this week by visiting their local healthcare centers and celebrating the important partnership between America's healthcare centers and the communities they serve. Locally, Golden Valley Health Centers will be holding events at various locations. Thank you for your patience for all of that. And this will be presented. Yes, sir. There he is. This is Mr. Ruben Chavez from Golden Valley Healthcare Centers. And Mr. Chavez, let me present you with a proclamation here and thank you very much for the job that your folks do over there in providing the healthcare services to this area. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the board of members of Golden Valley Health Centers, I'd like to thank you tremendously for your hospitality and for everybody here welcoming us and having us in your community. As was mentioned before, we have approximately 900 plus staff in the 3 counties in this area, so we provide a lot of economic support to this area. And also we see a lot of patients. And we just again want to thank you for making us feel at home. You are part of the community and we appreciate it. And once again, thank you tremendously for this honor.
Thank you.
Presentations. Monthly verbal report by Merced County District 3 Supervisor McDaniel.
Darren, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Thank you very much today. I'd like to reach out, Golden Valley Health Centers, Yamalet. Her and I have worked together in previous lives, I think we could say. And it's good to mention, I was going to mention something about Castle, but Golden Valley Health Center's administrative offices are located at Castle, and they have over 300 employees and they are very, help us out economically. Not only the city of Atwater, I'm sure they frequent the restaurants here and the gas stations. Also, there's a couple dates I wanted to bring to your attention. On August 28th, we're going to be doing a big update on our Castle plan. We've got a lot of moving parts out there. We've just got back from a meeting with FAA, Burlington Northern Rail. The governor's office just graciously gave us $6.5 million towards the autonomous vehicle testing that we're doing out there, and as well as a whole host of other stuff going on. So August 28th, they'll be updating us at the Board of Supervisors. I do sit on that committee. Also on September 11th, it'll be our final budget. The governor got the budget done early this year. We're looking forward to it. Everything's set, and so our final budget will be on that day as well. So are there any questions?
Any questions for Supervisor McDaniel? You get away pretty
good. And I just wanted to congratulate Lori on the success at the state capitol there last week. And I just want to publicly say a big thank you to Senator Anthony Cannella for all of his efforts. We've had many conversations over this, and I was glad he was able to get the committee on the same page and help you folks out. So I think that's a big win for all of us. Thanks.
Thank you for your support on that as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And I'll get them ahead of time.
All right, comments from the public. At this time, any person may comment on any item which is not on the agenda. Please state your name and address for the record. Action will not be taken on an item that is not on the agenda. If it requires action, it will be referred to staff and/or placed on a future agenda. To comment on an item that is on the agenda, please wait until the item is read for consideration. Please limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Also, civility is expected from members of the public during the meeting. For more efficient use of time, disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. While you may not agree with what an individual is saying, please treat everyone with courtesy and respect.
Chief.
Mayor, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to make a quick statement in regards to the evidence room situation and explain the process and where we are right now. I'll only be in a minute.
Oh, good.
I feel like I need to explain the secretive nature of this whole situation, but it was absolutely necessary due to the nature of it. I did not disclose until recently all the situations and conversations that I had with either the city manager or the city council. It wasn't a matter of trust. I trust them implicitly, but some of these situations I could not speak of until a certain time, and that time is now. I spoke with the sheriff and the district attorney on my very first day working here. We discussed the evidence room situation, and in the meantime, I had numerous meetings with our local assemblyman, Mr. Gray, the sheriff, the DA, and a lot of other folks to discuss the situation. About 2 weeks ago, I participated in a conference call with the assemblyman, the district attorney, and the Attorney General of the state of California, Javier Becerra. We implored him to have the Department of Justice come in and assist us in this investigation. The reason we wanted the Department of Justice is because they have no dog in this fight. They are a third party. They will come in, do a proper investigation, and it'll be completely transparent. About 10 days ago, the chief of the law enforcement branch of the Department of Justice came to Atwater, and he was briefed, and we took him on a tour of the evidence room. Last week, I received information that the Department of Justice will be stepping in and taking a lead role in the investigation. I'm hoping that with the assistance of some allied agencies that I've been able to get a hold of who will lend us some personnel, we should be able to fairly shortly go through, do the audit of the cash, the guns, and high-value items, and hopefully be able to put this behind us. Regarding the disclosure of the DA's letter, which is what caused this to come out into the press, DA Morris was legally required when he found out that we had evidentiary issues, to notify members of the bar in Merced County that we had issues. That came out about 2 weeks ago, and I had a canned statement ready to go when the shoe dropped, and when it did, we released it. The timing of it, I'm fairly certain that the timing and the release to the press was done by a local attorney's office, not anybody else. I'll report back to the council and to the public when the audit's over. However, since the Department of Justice is in charge of this, I will not say a word until they authorize me to make a statement, because this is their investigation. Just on a side note, since I took this job on July 2nd, I received information from a media source that there is alleged credible and reliable persons who are reporting public corruption. However, when I ask for information, I get no information. That is confidential and protected by the First Amendment. This media source also alleges knowledge of a crime of moral turpitude, but refuses to disclose it to CPS. I'm asking the folks here tonight, and everybody who's watching or will be watching on this situation, if you have firsthand knowledge, in other words, you've seen it, you have pictures, you have direct knowledge, please report it to me. I will meet anyone, anywhere, with anyone, your minister, your priest, your rabbi, your best friend. I will come to you and I will hear what you have to say. It's important. In the event that you don't have trust in this situation, I'm going to be putting at the back of the room a list of locations that you can go to report corruption and malfeasance with the Department of Justice, the DA, the sheriff, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the grand jury. Ladies and gentlemen, reliable people, those are people with integrity. They don't not report situations where children are being abused. Credible people would never permit a child to be harmed and not report it. Folks, those of you who have information, if you have information, you need to step up, or we need to stop the whisper campaigns. This does us no good as a community. Now, I want to leave you with this. I don't like to get preachy, but I'm going to throw this at you. Proverbs chapter 6 describes 7 things that are an abomination to the Lord. And in verse 19, it says, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord amongst his brethren. I will be at the back of the room. If you want to speak with me, I am always available through our dispatch center. If you need to report something that is a crime conducted by a person involved with the city of Atwater, I am available to come at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Lori?
Hear, hear.
Andy, I'm sorry, we're going to take 2 more minutes of your time.
That's right.
Well, it's not on your time. I do want to comment as well, following Chief Bessinger's comment regarding the story that was distributed. I want to comment on a Facebook response that states that it was leaked by the city manager and then commented on by a city councilman. The information on this ongoing investigation was supposed to be confidential until the investigation was complete. Now we know where the leaks from closed door have been coming from. I do want to address that I have never disclosed any confidential information that's discussed in the closed session. Any items that we have for our ongoing personnel issue will not be discussed or reported on until that issue is resolved. And then also I want to make the comment that going forward, the questions, I know the public's been wanting information. If you ask a question at the meeting, if you want to ask the question, we're going to start compiling a list of the questions. We're going to respond to them, and they'll be at the back counter following the meeting. But I just felt it was important that I get out in front of this and let you know that as your city manager, I will not disclose and have not disclosed confidential information. I take that position very seriously.
And I'll take a couple minutes before you too, Andy.
Should I sit down?
Boy, do I know how to go and take a day off, right? This last city council meeting, I did review the meeting, and well, I just haven't got an adjective to describe it. Everybody knows. When I came to this office, one of the things that I came as a promise and that I have followed through on was that anyone that wishes to come to the City Council and make comments, you're going to go from 3 to 5 minutes. I've held to that throughout the time I've been here, and I will continue to hold to that. But it is becoming blatantly obvious that there are those that wish to use that time as a forum to denigrate, to besmirch, to just absolutely abuse it with personal vendettas and what have you. After review of the last one, City Council meeting, let me just set a few things straight here. Well, first of all, let me just tell you, and Andy, you'll attest to this, for probably 11 years, I stood at this podium, more so than anyone in this room.
Fact.
And I stood there, and I came because I had a serious issue with the City Council and their pay and benefits and the way that was structured. And that was something that I felt in my heart needed to be taken care of, especially in light of the fact that it was taking money away from our reserve fund and was just not fair. After all, it's not their money, it's our money. It's the city's money, and it was being abused, and I felt that way. And I stood here in that well for probably 10, 11 years at least, and at long last, it was rectified. So I understand when people come to this podium here and they talk about, you know, things of interest to them. I get it. And just to give you one more little caveat, and I don't know whether or not anybody knows this or not. I can't recall whether or not anybody even remembers this night, but I sure do, because we were talking about the city's budget. It was about 11:30, 11:45 at night, and I was pretty much the only person in the audience that night. But when the City Council's pay and allowances came up for discussion, and I came to the podium, or I was on my way to the podium, I think the City Council set a record in making a motion and voting between the times to get out of a seat and go to there, the fastest vote I have ever seen, which, as you can well imagine, after a long day at work and then a long night here at the council, pretty well upset me. At least to the point where a handful of papers and a clipboard that I had kind of took flight. Well, nonetheless, I got a tap on the shoulder and I was shown the door. So don't feel as though anybody here is an unusual case. I've been tossed too. Okay? So I get it. I know how you feel. I understand about the passions, and I understand about how it is that people can have issues that they are really, really going to be passionate about. Choose your words wisely. Understand that any reference to anybody by name, any kind of disrespect, name calling, everything. Folks, I'm going to drop this, and your time will be done. I don't care if you've got 4 minutes and 10 seconds still left on the clock. You're done. We are not going to allow the public comment section to be abused any longer. Is that clear? Mr. Crody.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of the council. First, I'd like to say thank you to all you elected officials for your service and those who pulled papers to run. As you can see, it's a thankless job, and you guys get beat up all the time. I respect you all, even though I don't agree with all of you many times. But your work's cut out for you. And I would say that, you know, I served on the council for 12 years. That last meeting was just abhorrent. It's embarrassing for me as a member of the community. It's embarrassing for me as a former council member. Mayor, I want to talk specifically about two things. First of all, it's gotten so hateful and mean up here, but the chief, who I've never met, but I tuned in and I watched his comments on his department, and I absolutely agree with him. And I hope the man sticks around. I've been advocating for the Atwater Police Department from this podium for 27 years, and you know, the evidence room and the Sammy Joseph issue and all this other stuff, I'm talking about the noise, you know, the attacks on the rank and file, the 20 men and women who just want to do their job. They would take a bullet for us. You know, they're underpaid, they're understaffed, and they're underappreciated. And some of the salacious things that one of the mediums here, the print media, has said about some people personally is shameful. It's disgraceful, and I'm embarrassed for that person. I won't mention that person's name at your request, but I'm embarrassed for her. So I'd like to switch subjects. On February 24th, Mike Raymond lost his life in his battle with cancer. It's Councilmember Raymond's father. Anybody who knew Mike knew that he loved God, he loved country, he loved family, and he loved baseball. In the early 1990s, Mike felt that Atwater needed a second baseball league, so he got the Atwater Little League up and running. Mike devoted countless hours to redoing the ball fields at Osborne Park. He built the concession stand, which is still used to this day. He built the score booth, the scorekeepers booths, which are still used today. All paid for by Mike Raymond. It did not cost the city a penny, as he pulled money out of his own pocket and did fundraising. On July 12th, 1997, Councilman Brian Raymond's brother, Freddie, was killed in a horrific accident. Because Freddie and Mike had worked and played, coached, and sweated on that field at Osborne Park, the city council, which I was a member at the time, named one of the ballparks after Freddie, calling it Freddie Raymond Field. A couple months ago, I attended a ceremony where the Junior Giants dedicated their season to Mike Raymond at Freddie Raymond Field. So tonight, I'm asking and I'm proposing that the City Council of Atwater consider at a future date to rename that ball field the Mike and Freddie Raymond Field, a tribute already worthy of Freddie and certainly now a tribute worthy of his dad, Mike. I will write the first check for $100 for the sign to follow the Raymond model, as it not cost the city any money. And I'd also ask other members of the community to help out as well. We'll have a heck of a nice ribbon cutting for him. It'd be a great tribute to Mike, who has been in this community for generations, building houses, building apartments, and creating and expanding youth programs. Respectfully considered. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Andy.
And Andy, I'll give the second 100.
I'll give you the third. See, you already got $300 just like that. Anyone else? No one else?
Mr. Mayor, council members, after our last council meeting,
I'm sorry, Keith, could you state your name for the record,
Keith
please?
Pulaski from Atwater. After our last council meeting, I met with Mr. White and Ms. Waterman. Mr. White had answered all the questions I had asked in prior council meetings. One of the questions asked of him was how much his firm had been paid on a Sammy Joseph issue alone. He told me a managerial audit was conducted by the request of the work. He told me the city was billed $20,000 for the audit. However, the audit wasn't directly just to Sammy Joseph, or just the police department, but also different departments within the city. My understanding, this audit continued taking place after DeWerk left. However, Mr. White told us the background check was stopped when DeWerk left. On the Sammy Joseph issue only, the city has been billed to date between $40,000 to $50,000, according to Mr. White. He explained to me others not within his firm have done work on this matter. He told me they bill his firm and then the firm bills the city. It is costing the city for Sammy Joseph every month in wages and benefits $26,152. The finance director provided me with this cost figure. Joseph has been on leave for 7 months, almost 7 months, costing the city $183,064. The city is paying for the interim police chief approximately $12,000 a month. So at the end of this month, he's been paid $24,000. So for the two chiefs, approximately $207,064 spent so far. So split the difference Mr. White gave me on how much he has billed the city. It brings the total up to $252,064. That's not including 2 officers were paid 5% extra for a period of time before the interim chief was hired. So I'm not sure how much that costs the city. Now, I'm not sure, but I would think hearing about the financial problems the city is in, this money could help the city. Ms. White told me there were outside investigators and it wouldn't be right for him to tell them to hurry up. And this is regarding Sammy Joseph. Keith Foster's investigating, according to ABC, took under 1 year. This includes several wiretaps. For those who don't know who Keith Foster is, he was the deputy chief at Fresno PD who was tried and convicted on federal drug trafficking charges. After 7-month investigation, I think we will all be very surprised to learn what Joseph has done if it took Foster a year. I'm asking the City Council to instruct the city manager to instruct Doug White to wrap up this investigation. I would like to see this put on an agenda so a vote can be taken by council members instructing the city manager to inform Doug White to wrap up this investigation. I request this vote to be made during next council meeting. Mr. Mayor, if the city manager refuses to put this on an agenda so a vote can be taken, I would like to be notified. After 8 months of investigating Sammy Joseph, you should have enough either to fire him or bring him back.
Mayor, Council, Eric Lee, Atwater. I have to have a clarification on this. I want to speak about the hearing that took place in Sacramento, but I noticed that you have it down on item 12 as a verbal update, so I don't know if I'm supposed to speak at that point, or can I speak now?
If it's going to be about the hearing itself, as opposed to something more global, I'd ask that you hold your remarks to 12.
So I'll do it on 12?
Yeah, unless it's more global in nature. If it's that specific hearing that we just attended,
yes,
then yes, I'd ask that you wait till 12 on that.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure I had an opportunity in case it was glossed over or something. Thank you.
To the members here in City Council and all those that are here, with football season approaching at Atwater High School, Last year, we had our first,
Daniel, if you could please state your name.
I'm
for the
sorry,
record, please.
Dan Hernandez, 1904 Canal Drive. Last year, we had our first homecoming for Atwater High School veterans, where we have honors, for those that served in war zones. And this year, it's coming up on September 21st. And we have additional men that served in Vietnam and Afghanistan. And we have 2 new members that were killed in action, which is going to bring the total up to 6. We honored 4 a year ago. And I, as the chairman of this committee, being a veteran along with the administration of the school, would like to invite all persons in the city or the surrounding area to come to this event. The event a year ago, to those that were there, that were honored, it was the first time they had been recognized as veterans of the war. And they had never before had anything to honor them. And so I would invite all to come. And it's going to be a very interesting thing, because this year we're having the 21-gun salute provided by the Merced Post 83 American Legion, among other things. And so I will, this is all the time I have to talk to on for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Before the next speaker comes forward, everyone take a moment and please check your cell phones. Make sure they're turned off or on vibrate.
Mayor, my light's not working, but Mr. Hernandez, is that at halftime of the homecoming? Mr. Hernandez, is that at halftime?
The event takes place in between the freshman, the JV game and the varsity game. That's where it's slated to go right now.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you bet.
My name is Lori Johnson. My address is 1675 Drakeley Avenue in Atwater. We have been here before you so many times, trying to help you understand what your city leaders have done to us. I realize that some of you haven't been here through all of it, so we try to squeeze in as much information as we can in our 5 minutes, which is a lot harder than you would think, because so much has been done to us. Although I feel you are all well enough informed that you could and should have seen that something needed to be done, and the responsibility lies on you as a whole. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and I won't assume that none of you have tried to do the right thing, and I know some of you may have compassion, but what has been the reason that at the very least our water hasn't been turned back on? How can so many people in the city be involved in going to such great lengths to keep someone's water off? I just want to know who knows what and who is running the show, and why do so many people comply with those inhumane and criminal orders? Sorry. I now understand what council is talking about when they ask for the public to be civil. I watched the meeting, and in the audience behind the public speakers there are people making faces, rudely shaking their heads and signaling to the council, or better yet to the pro tem mayor and the mayor. This is giving us a better understanding of who is running this circus. There was also a misprint in the Atwater Times. They printed that the last council meeting was on July 26th. It was on the 23rd. Maybe to cover up the meeting that Rick was thrown out of for saying yes sir. That's why I say they are the fake news media. I have been reviewing these meetings, and I also would like to know who controls the camera and why they only zoom in on me to the point of blurriness. Questions I would really like the answers to tonight. And I would like to see that the city attorney is not controlled and is able to answer this as This has gone on long enough, and we are paying attention, and we are not going away. I know Petro gave many excuses for what he had done to council, and council accepted those lies like it was normal. When will council expose the true criminals so they are not part of the cover-up but part of the solution? Thank you.
Frank Johnson, Modesto, President of the NAAP, National Association for the Advancement of All People. Tonight I would like to talk about fake news. The Atwater Winton Times and Pacifically reporter Beverly Brown consistently attack anyone they perceive as being against ex-Chief Joseph and constantly advocate for Joseph's reinstatement. Varela has unethically attacked officer sergeants, former interim Chief Amando, the city attorney Art DeWart, and many others she considers anti-Joseph. Her message appears to be that the police department can't do anything right until Joseph returns as chief. Varela and the Times totally ignored all the positive work done by the department, quickly solving a murder case back in July after a complex and in-depth investigation, the tracking down and arrest of an arson suspect who shut down Target indefinitely due to extensive smoke damage, recovered over $100,000 in stolen jewelry with the arrest of a burglary suspect. Those are just a few of the department's many accomplishments over the past few weeks. Why is Varela so biased? Exactly what type of relationship does she have with Joseph and or his mentor Frank Petro? What do they have on her? Our investigation continues. True to form, Varela reported last week Times that the police evidence room is in shambles with guns and money missing. But miraculously, this can't be Joseph's fault because fixing the evidence room was not a line item last budget approved by the city council. This is Alice in Wonderland logic. Obviously, as a reporter in the Sun Star, Art DeWart asked the Sheriff's Department to commence an audit back in January at about the time Joseph was put on leave. The guns and money were found missing at that time, and Joseph had been chief and intern for over 1.5 years. Joseph never conducted an audit himself, the evidence room, even though that is standard procedure, so you start your tenure as chief with a clean slate. Why not? Probably because he knew guns and money were missing and didn't want to implicate his friend or mentor prior to Chief Pedro. In fact, I raised the issue of guns possibly being misappropriated almost 2 years ago in my correspondence to the city council and to prior city manager McBride and Brabble. But nobody did anything before Art DeWart started the audit in January. No wonder the city is falling apart due to lack of leadership. The compromised condition of the evidence room and missing guns and money are clearly Joseph's fault and amount to gross dereliction of duty at best and possible additional criminal misconduct. More to add to the long list of Joseph's criminal conduct: civil right violations, illegal retaliation, criminal threats, insubordination, general incompetency, physical or psychological unfitness, and ad nauseam. almost 7 months on paid leave, costing the city almost $20,000 a month in salary and benefits, despite such a clear record of termination offenses. What is the city manager waiting for? Hopefully she is not dragging this out to see if the council will make up changes more in Joseph's favor in November. There is an analysis paralysis and woeful lack of leadership in this city. The city manager needs to stop the nonsense and fire Joseph, or the council should assume leadership and find a new city manager who is not afraid to make the right decision. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Linda Dash, Atwater. I'm sure all of you sitting up there have received this lovely letter from your last speaker, Mr. Johnson, who has slandered 5 members of our police department. I won't read the letter to you. You've read it. It's filthy. It's vile. I can't think of a human being that would write such language as this individual did. I'm hoping that all 5 of you and the city attorney, as a group, will put a stop to this vile and filthy language that he's spewing throughout this city. This is slanderous, and I know this is going up, whether either federal or state. It's already started to move up. Folks are going to, because number one, there's information in here that never should have left your HR department or your police department. There's addresses of our present and former police chief. There's information in regards to our law enforcement officers, which, by the way, is incorrect. So I'm asking you folks, as adults and as council members, you're representatives of us, we voted for you, to take care of business. I mean, this is something that this gentleman doesn't even live in this town, okay? Thank you.
Anyone else?
Eric Lee, Atwater. After listening to Mr. Johnson's presentation, which seems to happen every 2 weeks, I don't know why it's repetitive and why we keep allowing that. I think Turlock discussed with him coming up with something new. But the thing that bothers me is blaming our current interim city manager for not firing Sammy Joseph. If even half the accusations are true that Mr. Johnson brought forth, my feeling is, why didn't Art DeWerck fire Mr. Joseph? Why did Mr. DeWerck put him on paid admin leave? If those accusations are half true, he shouldn't be on paid admin leave. And that's not Lori's fault. That's the fault of the previous interim city manager who put him on the paid admin leave.
Anyone else? Seeing no one? Next item.
Mayor, may I have a personal
Certainly.
moment to make a statement, please?
Certainly.
I'm kind of in a conundrum here because I wear 2 hats for this city. One is a city councilman and one is a volunteer. So I'm not quite sure whether I should make this statement from the podium or make it from down there. But it really needs to be made to not just the council, it needs to be made to the city as a whole. So I'm going to try to read this best I can. I've been a member of the Atwater Volunteers and Police Service, AFIPS, since February 2012, and their supervisor since Mike Raymond retired in October 2015. For over a year, I've been dealing with numerous issues, instances, with people who have constantly interfered with the policies, procedures, and operations of AFIPS, the program. These actions, along with derogatory statements, sometimes hostile statements, that have been made through all facets of the city. Some of them you've heard tonight. Many aimed at the volunteers and me, both verbally and through social media, have all but reduced the effectiveness and efficiency of the AFIPS program, as I see it, to almost zero. This program has been in existence since 1995 and was created to free up the police officers for them to do more important duties around this city, to make the police department more efficient in some ways, so they didn't have to go to the courts, they didn't have to go to all the DOJs to take evidence, and to make the city feel safer, hopefully, because there's more eyes and ears out there, as Mr. Krodick said. Now, I've heard numerous times from many volunteers through the 4 years about the negativity treatment, or the negative treatment, causing them to want to leave the program, and some of them have. And I've always instructed my volunteers to do their job, just as I have, and do what was asked of them, as long as it was safe. But as volunteers, if they needed time off, take care of themselves, their family, take care of their health, they take it, obviously. They're working for free. I've always done my best to keep two hats I wear separate. Doesn't matter whether I'm in the city talking to people or elsewhere. To act as a buffer between my volunteers and everyone else, because that's my job as a supervisor, was to protect my volunteers, especially regarding any negativity, hostility, private agendas, and vendettas that people have. However, that's become an impossible task for me. I've struggled with this decision for some time now, and my ultimate decision was finalized last Friday morning, having coffee with my wife. It's not been an easy one to make, but I feel it's the best for my volunteers, more importantly, my family and myself, for I've always strived to put everyone else first, including this city. I'm therefore announcing that I have tendered my letter of resignation to the interim chief messenger this evening, effective immediately, this 13th day of August, as a volunteer. It has been my honor serving with my brother and sister volunteers, both in the past and the present. It has also been an honor serving those in the public, those city employees, those PD personnel who have always supported the volunteers, the AFIPS program, and me, and who have always treated us with the same high level of dignity and professionalism as the volunteers have strived to do in return. I'll make this perfectly clear. Has no regards in the interim chief messenger. This has in regards to the hostility that has taken over this city in all aspects. I can't do this garbage anymore. And I'm going to add, that's why I'm not running. Thank you.
Next time.
Consent calendar. Background information has been provided on all matters listed under the consent calendar, and these items are considered to be routine. All items under the consent calendar are normally approved by one motion. If discussion is requested on any item, that item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate action.
Are there any items to the consent calendar that anyone would like to remove for separate consideration? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. 5 minutes only? How about 10? All right. Okay, at Councilmember Riere's request, we're going to take 10 minutes. Consent calendar was announced. So, are there any items to the consent calendar that anyone would like to remove for separate consideration? I would like to remove item number 4. Are there any members of the audience that would like to remove any items off the consent calendar for separate consideration? Okay, seeing none, entertain a motion for the remainder.
Motion for the remainder.
Second.
Call for the question.
Creighton,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Vineyard,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I called your attention to item number 4. This has to do with a declaration from the city in opposition to the State Water Resources Board decision, which there will be a rally on the 20th. For anyone that can make it to the state capitol on that day, this is to go up there and fight for our water. So I just wanted to bring that forward and to let everyone know that this is an item that has been continually bannered about. We have an unelected board in Sacramento that are making decisions that are affecting not just the farmers, but all of us, because wherever water flows, food grows, but it also grows jobs and opportunity. And what the State Water Board is doing with their robbing of our water and sending it to the ocean, essentially, in the interest of approximately 1,100 fish, is what we're told, is something that, to me, is criminal. And so I just wanted to bring that forward, that the city is participating in a declaration of opposition to the State Water Board's decision for their water allocations. Mr. Raymond.
Just to piggyback off that, Mayor, the Farm Bureau will be providing transportation to assist to get more folks to the rally. So just something to keep in mind.
Okay, so that's all I had to say on that matter, unless anybody else has anything else. Yes, Mr. Lee. I'm sorry, if you could come to the mic. Sit up closer.
It was closer at one time.
Yeah.
Could you briefly talk about the cuts that they're talking about, the percentages, how much water they're going to cut back on, who they're going to cut from, if you know that?
Brian, do you have the stats on that?
I don't have the stats.
Darren left.
Okay, Kendall, do you have?
You can go to the Farm Bureau website.
You want to step up to the microphone?
Sorry. I'll post it on the Facebook page so that you can have that information, but there's actually Amtrak morning trains that are going on the 20th as well. The state has said that the water is specifically for fish and wildlife that is there. However, the amount of water being diverted happens to be the exact same amount of water that they are now going to send to Southern California. And that is not an accident. So I'll post that on the city's Facebook page when I sit down, and then you could get links to that, the exact dollar amount. I'm sorry, the exact acre feet, but it is a substantial amount. I believe it is actually 20%. I'm not positive, but I believe that's the number.
That was the number I had in mind as well. I just wasn't quite sure.
Jim, I wanted to say something.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Along with the mayor and the rest of the council and the citizens of Atwater, we all stand united in this. And the Grim Reapers, the water board, the appointed water board that have no legal authority, but they think they do, and they somehow have the keys to the water, they're going to be in for a surprise when we get done. Everybody in the valley is going to be taking the train or the bus up there, and I encourage anyone else that has time to please attend, because I remember back in the 70s when the truck drivers all went to the Capitol, and they changed things back then. So we got to put our feet on the ground and make this happen. Thank you.
Ms. Raymond?
Just for informational purposes, the phone number for the Farm Bureau is 723-3001. If anyone wants to call and make arrangements to go to the rally.
Okay. Okay. So, entertain motion to do number 4.
Motion to approve.
And I'll second. Call for the question.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Vineyard?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next time.
Public hearings. 2018 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant JAG Program Application and Budget Amendment.
Chief Messenger. Oh, okay. Sergeant Snyder.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. First off, I want to say thank you very much for setting the tone tonight. It was heartfelt. Tonight I'm presenting the U.S. Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Assistance federal funding program known as the JAG program. This program is based on the mission that is there to prevent and reduce crime and violence. The JAG program is primary provider of federal criminal justice funding to state and local jurisdictions. The city receives an allocation of JAG funding based on their share of violent crime and population. The city's 2018 allocation is $14,504 with a no local match required under the JAG program. Staff is recommending the 2018 JAG allocation be used to purchase an electronic smart board with patrol shift scheduling software, an unmanned aerial system commonly referred to as a UAV or a drone, and a new camera surveillance system for the police department and City Hall. The police department would benefit from an electronic smart board with patrol shift scheduling software. The patrol and dispatch currently use an antiquated, inefficient system with a dry erase board. Oftentimes, the board is difficult to read and can be easily manipulated without supervisory approval to reflect overtime, sick, vacation, CTO, and/or training. Having a computerized software system in place can easily be monitored by a supervisor. This will assist with accountability when it comes time for the employee to complete his or her timesheet. A recent article in Police One suggests that having a computerized police scheduler in place saves money and improves overall employee satisfaction. Furthermore, the smart board can be used for training and debriefing after critical incidents. Next, the police department would also benefit from an unmanned aerial system or a UAV or drone. The benefits of having an unmanned aerial system would be used to assist in prosecutions as it would be deployed for aerial photographs of a crime scene. The UAS would be beneficial to assist patrol with setting up a perimeter for a suspect fleeing the area on foot or bike due to manpower shortages. Having UAS deployed could potentially reduce injury to the suspect, officers, and community. Several police departments in California, including Merced County, have benefited from having a UAS with its deployment in the day and evening times. Lastly, the police department would value from having a newer surveillance camera system in place to replace the old cameras on the police department and City Hall. The cameras in place are antiquated and can't be used to retrieve video footage to assist in overall safety to the employees and community for any potential threats entering in or around the building, including City Hall. That's all I have at this point in time.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor.
Any?
Yeah, just on the cameras, were you planning on putting one near the front door?
Yes, there's going to be several cameras that would be placed on or around the building to include City Hall.
Okay. And on the drone, now the cost of the drone, is that the drone and training included on that?
So the drone is anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000, and training is about $65 for the flyer.
Okay, and you're going to have, are you going to try to train everybody, or are you just going to have?
No, there'll only be a select few people, mainly supervisors, and then after that it would be up to the employee if they wanted to get their flyer's license for that. Also listing under FAA guidelines.
Okay, thank you.
And would they also have night vision capability?
Yes, there's FLIR attachments to the camera system. It gets placed on the gimbal, and that's for the night surveillance. Anytime the drone would go up, obviously the towers would be contacted, and supervisor approval as well.
Okay. Let's see, Mr. Creighton.
I just want to tell you thank you. I've been begging for technology in the police department and cameras. Not to follow us around when we go to the grocery store and do other things, but as a crime-fighting tool, and I want to thank you. This is desperately needed around here. Eye in the sky, the whole thing, it's going to be a great asset that we can use. So I hope to see more of this, and we start working with the businesses and incorporate this in our community.
I'm looking forward to being used at 4th of July.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
For the purposes of the record, will you please restate the total amount of funds being requested?
Yes, $14,504.
And no match.
And no match.
Okay.
I just wanted to remind Sergeant Snyder that this is a public hearing and we need to circulate a sign-in sheet for our application.
Okay. Okay. Any further questions or comments for Sergeant Snyder? Okay. In that case, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to address this item for discussion, please step to the podium, state your name for the record. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Off the question.
Raymond?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Vineyard?
Absolutely.
Vieira?
Yes.
Price?
You betcha.
Motion passes. Our next item is amending miscellaneous fee schedule.
Quinder.
Good evening, the mayor and the city council. We would recommend you to open the public hearing and take testimonies given, and please adopt resolution number 3046-18, amending the miscellaneous fee schedule.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the council before opening up the public hearing? Okay. In that case, oh wait, this isn't a public hearing, is it?
It is.
Oh, it is. Okay. Open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to the fee schedule, please step forward to the podium. State your name for the record. Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Bring it back to the council. What's your pleasure?
Mayor, I do have a comment. I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure the public had one. For most of these fees, I really don't have any problem because I do think they're justifiable. I do have a little, in overlooking them, I know we've kind of talked about them before, but just looking over the ones for park and recs, 50%, the statement says about 50% of our clients, as we call them, come from outside the city limits. And I just would hate to see us get these too high to where we're chasing those people away and we're losing revenue versus taking revenue in. So it's down on page 14 of 14 for where those fees are. So I don't know if we really need to kind of maybe look those over. Were there 10% increases? Yes. That's in kind of, I just wanted to make sure again.
Actually, the fees, the difference in fees for non-residents of Atwater is 30%. So it's only a 30% difference. And actually, it's very common for jurisdictions actually throughout the state to charge a different rate for non-residents, largely because they're not paying taxes theoretically on those services.
Right.
So it's fairly common, and at 30%, it doesn't seem to be that much of a difference. And frankly, even looking at the surrounding jurisdictions and the type of things they have, I think that the recommendation from staff is basically to adopt the fees, and then as we are monitoring Parks and Recreation performance over the next fiscal year, to look and see if we do have impacts that are negative. We're thinking based on we've seen in other jurisdictions that they won't be. But again, because because Recreation is one of your departments that is operating at a loss, we were looking at every possible opportunity to increase revenues in order to offset that while still being able to provide the services.
And I understand that, but I'd like to look at those fees sooner than a year. I know some of these things don't occur for a while, obviously, because of the seasonals.
Sure. Well, if I might suggest, I think the first one we have coming up is going to be the flag football, and there's going to be some co-ed things. It would behoove council, I think, to take a look at the end of that season and see what the impact was. And because of the way we're working with finance and recreation, we're going to be more closely tracking the actual cost of the people who've signed up, and then, of course, the people that are refereeing and providing services for that. So we'll have a much better understanding about what it actually costs to provide that service.
And I'm more inclined to approve it versus if based on the fact that we're going to get reports earlier, not wait till a year and then go, oh, man, we lost $12,000.
Yeah, I think that's the intention for every single one of the sports now, that at the end of a season that Sandy would be able to come before council and say, we had X number of participants, this is how many were city residents, this was non-residents, and this is how we did. And I think that the inference is that if we have programs that are not performing, that it would be then up to council to determine whether or not that is going to continue to happen, or you're going to make some sort of adjustment.
And that's what I'm really concerned. I just don't want us to price our Park and Recs department out of business.
Absolutely understand.
Okay.
That means you have to stay past November, though. You got that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Graydon.
I just want to reiterate that what Mr. Vineyard just brought up is a good point, that we have gone back to a line item budget with micro detail. So within each department, we're going to be helping out recreation with each one of the programs. I'm just using an example of recreation because we're talking about that. We're going to know what flag football costs, and then jump over to Public Works. We're going to know what each sub-department within those departments, line items for detailed items. You know, how many batteries do we buy for flashlights for the safety stuff in Public Works? We're going to be able to know, pinpoint where all your money's going, and we're going to be able to track that. So this is a good thing.
Yes.
Oh, that's the place. Thank you.
Yeah. And Kendall, I just wanted to make a point also that, you know, with that increase that you're talking about, is there any historical data that you have from other communities where they've done something similar to that?
The cities I looked at, well, frankly, my husband's one of them. In our community, we charge different rates, and it's a very similar size and about a 25,000 population. There's no correlation that we've been able to find that shows a decrease, because frankly, even with the increases that are being provided, it's still a value-driven opportunity. It's definitely cheaper than what you consider like Pop Warner football or other type of things out there that require higher rates. Yep. But again, I think it's if you look like at the statewide and the groups that monitor parks and recreation services. It's one of the things that is considered a best practice, largely because, again, the city of Atwater's primary goal is to provide services to the residents of Atwater. And if others enjoy those, that's great. But if in enjoying those, we can help pay for those services for our own residents, it's beneficial for us to do so.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. Just want to also, just for information only, and I know that Henry will attest to this, we, at the Atwater 4th of July Committee, for a number of years to go over to the fireworks, it was a $5 per carload thing. And kicking and screaming, we went and raised it to $10 a carload, which is still a cheap ticket to get in. And, you know, we were thinking that that wasn't, you know, going to be a good thing. And it turns out that our numbers have been going up ever since for the last 3 years. And so, it sounds scary at the beginning, but I think in the long run we're going to find that it's going to be just fine with everything. So thank you, Kendall. Okay. Okay. So anything else that anybody has to this item? Okay. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Call for the question.
Ms. Vieira?
Yes.
Vineyard?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion passes. Interim City Manager reports and updates. Verbal update regarding fiscal solvency efforts and Joint Legislative Audit Committee JLAC update.
Ms. Waterman.
So last Wednesday, we appeared before the State Joint Legislative Audit Committee, myself, Finance Director LaQuinder Deal, City Attorney, as well as Kendall with RGS, attended before the committee. The committee acted to support the city's request to continue the implementation of our fiscal solvency plan and avoiding a high-risk audit, which could have negatively impacted our ability to engage in meaningful economic development and attracting quality employees. Under the agreement, the city will continue to be part of a monitoring program with the state auditor to ensure that we continue to implement policies and programs that support best practices and contribute to our long-term fiscal health. This includes paying off the $2.2 million debt to the city's sewer fund and increasing funds to contribute to its our pension obligations and general fund reserves. Over the next 6 months, the auditor will review the city's progress and then report back to the committee in 2019. Again, it's important to note that the city didn't ask for a pass on the audit. It just asked that they give us time to make the suggested changes and bring those into place, and then come back and report on those and give the auditor time to review the documentation that we presented to them. I do want to express our our support, our appreciation for support from Supervisor McDaniel, who wrote a letter in support of the Atwater, along with the committee members that supported the motion at the hearing, in particular Senator Anthony Cannella, who recognized the extraordinary steps taken by our council, our staff, over the past several months to address our financial status and our goal to provide a transparent path to achieving our long-term goal of reestablishing our general fund reserves and creating a fiscally viable city. I want to, if I can quote Councilmember Raymond, after the hearing, he said, "Today was a win for the city and for our residents," and I believe that's true. The city will likely appear again before the JLAC committee in probably the spring of 2019 to review our progress, and between now and then we'll continue coming before you and keeping you posted and updated with the progress and the things that we have moving forward.
Any other questions or comments on that? Mr. Lee, did you want to address this?
Eric Lee, Atwater. I don't know how many people were able to watch the committee hearing last week. I watched it about 9 times, backwards and forwards. I also got a printout of the text of that meeting, so it makes it a little easier to follow along. I still have some concerns. I haven't had a chance to talk to Kendall about some of these, or Darren, but my concerns revolve around the fact that the state auditor, Elaine Howell, is a CPA, who's over an 18-year veteran of this state as its auditor, is a very bright person and extremely professional. And when she says we have received that information from the city of Atwater and we still have sufficient concerns, I want to acknowledge they have taken some steps to move in a direction that will be helpful to the city, but there were a variety of issues related to. They've run a general fund deficit for 10 of the last 11 years. Their budget for the current fiscal year doesn't completely eliminate the deficit. She also goes on to say, and we don't really see a formal plan moving forward to try to keep themselves out from running a deficit in the general fund of the city. The other part that concerns me is she goes on to state that it's our understanding that in January of this year the police chief was put on admin leave. They're conducting an investigation related to that and some other reviews, so we have concerns with that. And looking at the state controller's report, concerns they had related to internal controls, accounting controls, we haven't seen in the evidence that was provided to us much progress in addressing some of these issues. I do have a list of some of the items the city gave us to my staff, and they went through those. One was referred to as a path of financial solvency. And my staff looking at it said it's not really a plan for a path. It is ideas, suggestions for things they could do. She goes on to say, with all due respect to the city, we appreciate the effort that they've taken, but we still think it would be worthwhile for the state auditor's office to get in there, conduct some analysis, and hopefully provide some assistance, as we have done in the past when we audited Maywood and the city of Hemet. I believe that's kind of where Lori alluded to when she said that we would provide them with everything as they monitor us. Also, the city is moving forward with a 218 compliance for water and sewage. Well, yeah, and when I'm done. I got a little problem with Canella too, but that's okay. You know, Anthony said basically that they called me a few weeks ago and said, look, we want your official opposition to this audit. And I said, you need to come to me and explain why I should oppose it. We went through all the various things that they're doing, and I don't think they're there, quite frankly, but I do think they're making significant progress. But if we put them in a high-risk audit, then if they go out to bond for various improvements, they would have to pay a higher interest rate. Elaine Howell goes on to say, based on the analysis the staff did, and I wanted to acknowledge you have taken some steps, but with all due respect, They're baby steps. And quite frankly, I think some of those steps have been taken because we have been looking at the city of Atwater. And with all due respect to the senator, we took information that the city gave us and we're still not convinced. The other issue involving an audit request does not make the city a high-risk city. I think we've discussed this before when I brought this up much earlier. Conducting an audit will determine whether or not we decide to put them out there as a high-risk city. So the audit that we conduct may result in their not going to be characterized as a high-risk city, and that could be a positive outcome of this audit. And that's when she got into the discussion of monitoring, and that you would provide her with all information, because I think there's statutory reasons for having an audit to provide. They can come in and get all the information, and you agreed to provide them that. She goes on to say that in fairness to the city, they have made some progress. Is it sufficient for us to say we don't think an audit is necessary? Our conclusion was no. That's why we came forward with this proposal. And Al Maritucci, who is the chair of that committee, says, normally I'm inclined to support the auditor's recommendation, but if anyone comes to me and asks me why I supported a motion to delay, I'm going to say it's because of Senator Cannella. And you know, I think people should know, and this is probably a little bit off the topic, but out of all the votes for raising the gas tax, only one Republican voted in favor of it, and that was Senator Cannella. I think this was a little bit of a political payback. Sorry to say that, but that's what I believe. I think the city's on the right path, and I think giving constant updates on where you are to the public would be a real good thing, because as you can see, I have a lot of questions when I'm getting something from an auditor and I'm getting something from someone else, and that raises questions in my mind what's going on. And I don't always have access to Kendall to talk to her, so. But
I would like to address that, and then I'm going to ask Kendall to come up and speak on it. But some of the questions, Eric, that you had, as soon as the auditor started speaking regarding the documents that she received, it was known to us that she was talking about the initial set of documents that we provided in May, but we were given a deadline of July 9th to submit a stack of probably 600 pages of documents to the auditor. Their deadline to get the request back on the agenda was July 2nd, prior to our deadline of July 9th to get them the documents. So in all fairness, she hadn't reviewed the documents, but I'll let Kendall elaborate a little bit more on that.
And I think if you watched the thing, you probably saw me at that time because I was sitting next to her.
I saw that.
Yeah, no.
I also saw Doug White's
and
a couple Catherine Baker.
Yeah, so a couple
Kendall,
things.
please make your comments addressed to the council.
Oh, I'm sorry. I get so used to talking to him. A couple of things. One, we did speak with the auditor following the meeting, and with regard to the hearing, we met with the board chair, the chairman of the committee prior to speaking before them, and we also, of course, met with Cannella's office and all of the other individuals. As Lori said, the city provided 20 separate topic area documents, more than 600 pages, that included great detail. The information that the auditor was talking about was basically a narrative that was written by Art DeWork back in, I think actually it was April and May, and it was absolutely not sufficient for the city to avoid an audit if that was all we had given to them. In the conversation that I was having with the auditor as everything was unfolding, she basically said that her staff had not had adequate time in order to give her a full briefing on that. And if you also watch the hearing, you'll see her say that basically she's going to, go with the will of the committee. Of the 12 or 13 members, only one member actually voted to have the audit go forward, and it happened to be the representative who had Maywood. And in speaking with him later, because Maywood got audited, he felt that that was best for his future as an elected official for the citizens of Maywood. What is going to happen moving forward is that we will be providing documentation as requested by the auditor's office. They will likely come here to Atwater. We're having an open door policy on that. We'll be having updates to them every 30 days up into the next 6 months or so. The idea basically is that once we get all that information to the auditor, are able to sit down with her and talk with her and her staff, we'll be able to address those concerns and also demonstrate demonstrate best practices that are happening here in the city. Just as an example, they had incorrect police data, they had incorrect data regarding our fee schedules and the most recently adopted budget. They did not have any of the property information that was provided with regard to assets that might be sold to offset some of the debt. And she also pointed out, which I want to make sure everyone's clear on, Atwater, like almost every other jurisdiction in California, has an unfunded PERS liability. We are not the only ones. And in fact, our liability here per capita is substantially lower. We're kind of in the lower third of the pack. Both the city of Merced and the county are about double ours. That is not an issue as it pertains to this audit. We're all looking for some legislative fixes and some other things, but following the hearing, based on the commitment from the city attorney and the interim city manager and staff, we plan on working very closely with the auditor and sharing that information out with the public. If anyone has any requests for that information, again, those are readily available. We're happy to share them. That would include the documentation about police. Obviously, you saw the master fee schedule tonight, but we'd be more than happy to address that. And Eric, if anybody else has any questions, you can certainly call me or call Lori, and we're more than happy to be open about that.
Okay.
Mayor, may I say something?
Certainly.
This isn't the first time we've been through this rodeo, so to speak. Back in 2014, we were audited. They looked at 2008 to 2013. They looked at the discrepancy in 2010-11. They said the things were out of whack by 266%. They said in 2010 to 2011, the operating shortfalls were 53%. In 2011 and 12, it was 40%. And they said that we had a $4.2 million deficit in 2012 and 2013, and quote, the auditor's report expressed substantial doubt about the city's ability to continue, yet here we are. We're still functioning. Being as we've got a lot cut back and we're still working, we're still functioning. We're still making changes to do better. Doesn't mean we give up. Doesn't mean that if they come in and audit us that we're throwing in the towel and we're done. Just means that there's still some red flags out there that they see that we're still trying to answer. And hopefully we're getting a few steps ahead of them on some of this stuff. So don't think this is the end of the world because they come in. It's very common, but we've been there before, as the Sacramento Bee reported back in April of 2014, and it's been worse. We just don't want to go back to 2014. So we just need to continue looking forward, trying to find solutions, trying to resolve the problems we have. So keep moving. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else to that, or can we move on to number 13?
Sure.
Let's go.
Okay.
Resolution approving City of Atwater social media use and public outreach policy.
Slorderman.
So before you, you have the city's social media use and public outreach policy in an effort to get our residents communication and we've established multiple forums of public outreach with a purpose to disseminate information to the city, such as the audit information that we've been discussing tonight. So we've established a Facebook account. We're going to keep you up to date with things that we have going on within the city, and these are things that have been asked about or asked for from the public, and we're moving forward with that.
Mr. Great.
Can you talk more about the social media aspect, maybe Kendall? What we're doing, what we're trying to do for the citizens?
Yes, the Facebook account has only been up for a few weeks, but I'm very pleased to tell council that we've already had over 20,000 views of our posts as of tonight, which is great. And we are seeing an increase also in likes. There are a lot of people that are sharing information. I want to be clear that the Facebook page is open. It's an open conversation there, so sometimes people say things that we might not like. And that's okay. We won't be allowing anything in the way of profanity or any type of personal attack, that sort of thing. But it is intended to share information about the programs and policies moving forward. I think most importantly, though, it's an opportunity for folks to learn quicker about things that are happening here at council. So tonight I've been posting on with the proclamations and other things that are happening so people can get that information, including the information about the water. So that's readily available. We'll also be having a post on Nextdoor, and that'll be something we'll be doing in tandem with the police department. So I believe there'll be...
What is it? excuse me, Nextdoor, can you explain that?
Nextdoor is actually one of the fastest growing platforms in the country right now, and basically it's a neighborhood-based
For an
correspondent.
iPhone or something?
I'm sorry?
For your iPhone, or what are you
For
talking
any type of, you can use your iPhone, your computer, whatever electronica you prefer. It's different than Facebook and some of the others. You have to have a physical address within the jurisdiction that you're posting about, and there are some more rules in terms of what you can say and not say. It's been very effective for police when they're going to have an opportunity. If I
Can Chief say something about that?
Very effective for neighborhood watches.
Yeah, it's great for
So
neighborhood
this is in
watch.
tandem with Facebook and keeping everybody
We
up to
have,
speed?
the whole idea is to have multiple channels, and not only just social media, because frankly, not everybody is on social media. Some
Right.
people prefer to read a print newspaper or to come to a meeting. But the idea here is to have multiple channels so that whatever channel or engagement tool is most suited to a person, they have access to that. So it's all good.
Specifically, the Nextdoor app it's a phone-based app, Android or iPhone, and a lot of jurisdictions are using it very successfully. Basically, most of the time they're broken down into neighborhood groups, so people can discuss things in their neighborhoods, whether it's yard sales, people are putting their Ring doorbell pictures on there. Do you know who this person is? But for the police department specifically, it is a great way of getting out information that's specific to neighborhoods and crime information. Our Facebook page, myself and Officer Cardoza's been doing a great job. I'm the only other person that adds to it, and we've been putting stuff on. When we had our situation with the arson at Target, within hours we had people identifying this person, and within, I think, 4 hours we had him in custody, but we had over 2,500 views. So it allows us to get information out. It also allows us to talk about the good works of the agency. I put one on about our community service officer was able to basically not put a dog down because we were able to get it treated and get it adopted. And people need to know that we do more than just put people in jail. So the Facebook policy for us has been a really good step for us, I think. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to.
So maybe you can get with whoever does, Sandy does a newsletter, talk about the Facebook and the neighborhood thing, and I want to meet with you and show me how it works. I want to get it on my phone.
The Nextdoor app?
Yes, the Nextdoor app.
I'm going to need your help on that because I assigned one of my people, but I'll definitely get them with you.
And I just want to point out one thing that's super important, and it's in our policy. Social media does not take the place of calling 911 if you have an emergency. It also does not take the place of a public records request. So basically, if you have anything in that kind of thing, don't use it for that purpose. What we're really looking for is, we're sharing information about what happens at council, the Veterans Park cleanup, all these different things that happen in the town so that people can get access to information quickly and efficiently and accurately.
And what we're asking from council tonight is adopting the policy that establishes the guidelines for posting information to these different sites, and then provide staff with clear direction regarding acceptable content.
It's not a public, just information. Is there anybody who would like to comment to this? Oh boy, I guess so.
Keith Plosky, Atwater. Well, I'd like to add is these things are all good. The chief said you get a lot of information off them, but I suggest you make sure you put it in some kind of newsletter out to people that these things are available to everybody. And just like Ms. Creighton said, how do I get on it? Maybe put some kind of directions on how to get to these things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
state your
Daniel
name.
Pinto, Betsy Ross Court, Atwater. So the social media is great, but I don't know if any of you were privy to, and I'm sure Brian is, but as I have a home in Mariposa, and I had a family cabin in the Dardanelles. The sheriff's office has that Nixle page or text that goes out along the lines of Facebook, Nextdoor. Nextdoor can get pretty derogative at times, but could the city look at, like the sheriff's office does, Merced County, Tuolumne County, Mariposa County, where they send out hard road closures, lost children, fire, change your batteries.
What's the name of that?
Nixie?
Spell
Nixie
that.
or Nixel? Nixel.
Spell that.
Nixel. So in Mariposa County, I get it. As soon as the fire hit, I'm really lucky. I live next door to a post office. They have to protect my property in Mid-Pines. Love it. A note hit in Dardanelles. Before we could even blink, the cabin was gone. So, but we still got the intel through the pages, through social media, and it's fantastic information. If the city could do something like that, you could post, hey, we've got a parade tonight. These are the hard road closures in the area. Simple stuff, and everybody else uses it. I don't know if Fresno County, but I know Merced and Mariposa County use it, Tuolumne County uses it. It's fantastic. If we could interject something like that along the social media, it really might be a positive thing. You know, like when the Giants beat the Dodgers. So, thanks.
That's what we're trying to go and do tonight, pal. Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Pinto, thank you for that update on the Giants-Dodgers game.
I didn't know that it was an update.
I just want to make sure the mayor knew that.
Well, I didn't know it was an update. Is there a... Okay. All right. Anything else on this?
We need a motion to approve this?
No.
I just have a question.
Yeah, we
I
do.
have a question.
Yeah.
Now,
Motion to approve.
wait, before, can you hold it? And I'll say, is there's going to be training in this? Is there any training in the policy, or is there any training scheduled for those who are going to be in charge of administrating this?
Along with our other policies, when the staff, each annually, we're asked to sign our policies annually. This will be included, and if there's training with that, it'll go along with that as well.
Okay, then I'll second it.
Okay. In the spirit of openness and transparency, I love it. Call for the question.
Score still 0-0.
Kershaw.
All right, Mr. Vineyard.
Yes.
Vera.
Yes.
Creighton.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Price.
Yep.
I made the motion, he seconded it.
City Council matters.
Mr. Raymond.
Real quick, Andy Crotick surprised me with that little statement and what he wants to do out at the park. So I just want to thank Andy and everybody who's already volunteered to help out. That's very heartwarming. And that's all I have. I just want to say thank you.
Ms. Vieira.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to give a quick update. Earlier last week, Mayor Price and myself met with the Merced County Animal Control, and we've kind of taken it upon ourselves as we come out of the budget season to visit pretty much everything line per line and take a look at it. So we met with, I think there were 6 or 7 representatives from the animal control there, and it was a really eye-opening experience. They have recently gone and done a small drop in the fees that were charged, and it was a negotiation through the city of Merced, and then they went from there and they made all the municipalities that use the facility in line. So we will see a little bit of savings there. It was brought to our attention at that point in time that really the large cost to the city for the animal control, in most instances, that is recapped by the city through the licensing of our dogs, and I don't see that being pushed here. So I have brought that to Jim and I both brought that to the attention to the council and to the interim city manager. So we're going to kind of take a look at that and see what are we recapturing on getting our dog license taken care of. And you know, with the city of 30,000, there's probably 30,000 dogs. Everybody I know has a dog or 2. So anyway, at the end of our meeting, it was a really good meeting. They came very prepared. They're very knowledgeable. We weren't sure how are the animals tracked, and let me tell you what, they know where every cat comes, what corner it was picked up on. They really have their I's dotted and their T's crossed out there. After they were done, I took an in-depth look at the entire facility. I found everything. I was so impressed. The facility was so clean. The supplies that they have I was just overwhelmed by all the donations that had come in over time for blankets and beds. The dog bowls are washed after every feeding. Their kennels are cleaned every day. The dogs are taken out. and I just, whenever I visited, I see the little dogs in the kennel, my heart breaks, but they really do the best that they can with what they've got. I saw just everybody there has a true heart for the animals, and being, an animal activist myself and having a huge passion for the animals. As I was visiting, a whole little litter of kittens came in, and I already had a litter at home, but they already had, foster homes set up for that, Linda, and trust me, you almost got 5 of them on that day. But anyway, just to let you know that we are, as a council, trying every avenue. Jim and I visited. They were just gave us so much knowledge, answered all of our questions. I left there with a really solid feeling that it's a very well-ran facility, and that our animals are, they're completely, we know when our Atwater animals go in, where they came from. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to that? I mean, I think it went really well, and they gave us some really good feedback as to how to recapture what we're spending on an annual basis out there for our animal control.
Okay, Mr. Creighton.
A few things. With the animal licensing fees for the dogs, maybe we could look at also capturing the bicycles, because I don't think we're licensing bicycles anymore at City Hall, so maybe if that's doable together, we could look at that. And then also remind everybody, back to school week is this week. The kids already went back, so safety, safety, safety. Public Works did a great job. They're doing a great job still. Striping everything out there, putting the school zones in with the new yellow paint and the reflective coating on that. I want to thank Public Works for doing that. Also, adopt a teacher. So if you know a teacher, adopt a teacher. Get them some supplies for their classroom, whatever they need for the school year. Help them out so they can help the kids. And also with the combat vets for the homecoming game, remember, go out and support that. Our combat vets are important. And with that, that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Mr. Vineyard.
You lost your voice.
One more thing.
Go ahead. I knew there was something more.
There was
You're losing your voice.
Back to the veterans. We went out to Veterans Park, Officer Mann and the police department and the PAL kids and Jim and myself and Brian. We all went out there and did a cleanup. We picked up over 30 bags of trash. And it looked okay. The park looked okay. I can't believe how much trash we picked up. They rehabilitated the horseshoe pits. You can play horseshoes out there again. We pressure washed and cleaned the pavilion. It's still in good shape, Sandy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We did a lot of weed eating. They trimmed some bushes, took some oleanders out of the way that are on the corners so the police officers, when they drive by at night, they can see through the park. And we had probably 100 people out there. Am I exaggerating? Maybe 100 people. And the vets cooked the hot dogs for everybody. It was a great community experience to see everybody coming in. So we did start something there, and we're going to continue that. And I can't thank staff enough, because staffs who did this. Police department, thank you.
Mr. Vineyard.
Throw the horses hard to throw?
Pretty hard.
Okay. I want to reiterate about the schools, because all of them definitely will be starting by Wednesday. They'll be in Wednesday. Slow down, people. Slow down. My wife and I almost took out a truck the other day. Pulled out right in front of us, doing about 55 miles an hour. And had my grandson in the truck, in the back. I don't know if it was the grace of God or my good driving, or a combination thereof. Didn't hit him, didn't roll, scared the hell out of me. But slow down, pay attention, look. Be aware of what's going on. I don't know how you miss a big blue Ford, but the person didn't see me. But slow down. There's people who are driving way too fast in this city. If you got to drive that fast, then you've left way too late. So get up earlier. There's a lot of new school teachers out there, a lot of new principals. You know, be sure to say hi and be courteous. Candidates are in. Learn them, get to know them, read about them, so we make a good educated decision come November. 122 days or something like that's left. I'm going to read you something here. Obviously, I've had a lot of thinking to do over the last few months. Common sense, sound and prudent judgment based on a simple perception of the situation or the facts. Not just some facts, all the facts. Integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles or moral uprightness. It is generally a personal choice to hold oneself to a consistent moral and ethical standard. In ethics, integrity is regarded as the honesty and truthfulness or accuracy of one's actions. We all set our own level of integrity. Honesty refers to a facet of moral character and connotes positive and virtuous attributes, such as integrity, truthfulness, straightforwardness, including straightforwardness of conduct, along with absence of lying, cheating, theft, etc. Honesty also involves trustworthy, loyal, fair, sincere. We have to teach our youth how to be honest. Trust, firm belief in reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. Relations and relationships have to be built on trust. Doesn't matter whether it's here up at the council, at home, school, business. If you can't trust who you work with, you can't trust who you do business with, who you can't trust who you're on patrol with, who you fight fires with, you're in a world of hurt. Starts with the very first words that are uttered out of your mouth to the other person. Without integrity and honesty, there is no trust. Honor, it's an abstract concept entailing a perceived quantity of worthiness and respectability that affects both the social standing and self-evaluation of an individual or an institution, such as the family, school, regiment, or a nation. Without integrity, honesty, and trust, there can be no honor in yourself, your city, or your country. How can you have any of the other three if you don't have any honor within yourself? Have a wonderful evening. God bless. Take care of yourselves. Thank you.
Okay. On a kind of a somber note, for those that have been following the Ferguson fire, which has gone on now for about 5 weeks, there was a second death up there. Firefighter Brian Hughes was struck and killed by a falling tree while he was fighting fire. So that fire up there took 2 lives. There's other lives being taken at other fires, and this is indicative of what happens, you know, when you get into these situations. It happens, and so our thoughts and prayers are with the Hughes family and all the friends and fellow firefighters at his loss. I'm going to also kind of hitchhike on what Mr. Creighton said about the Veterans Park and cleaning it up. I'd like to see that become a habit, you know, maybe once a month or once every 6 weeks or so. That was a big deal, and let me tell you, I've been going to that park ever since 1980, and it looked like the glory days back when the Air Force had a whole crew of people that could go in there every day if they wanted to. So hats off to everybody, including Chief Bessinger, who spent a weekend away from home up here to help us out with that. It was a good effort, and the place looks really, really good up there. If you haven't seen it, take your family up there and enjoy that park up there. For those that didn't know, of course, we had that fire at the Super Target. I want to commend Chief White and all of his firefighters and all the other agencies that responded in for that particular incident. We were up there, Brian, Paul, myself, Lori was up there, and saw the damage and walked through the place once the smoke was tolerable to get in there. It was incredible, the amount of smoke that was throughout that facility. It was just incredible. The water damage is significant. We walked through probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches of water to get back to take a look at where everything happened. The store itself, you know, I hear different estimates. You can probably plan on at least a month that store is going to be down. One of the things that I had found out was Target was planning on doing a remodel of the store. So with the restoration that they're doing and what have you, it looks like they're going to incorporate their remodel efforts into this. So yeah, it's a big deal, and you know, I want to thank Allied also for getting out there today. We had a issue with some dumpsters out there and got that straightened out. And you know, when I went into the store, I was talking to some of the supervisors there with Service Master, and man, I'm telling you that food in there, it's getting pretty ripe. So. You know, it's got to be handled differently. It's got to go to the landfill, be buried, and all of that. It's not an easy job, and there's a big crew of people up there that's taking care of that. So, yeah, I'm glad that they caught this guy, and I'm glad that there was no injuries. The folks that are the employees of Target should be commended for their efforts in making sure customers and everyone, other staff members, exited the building and nobody was hurt. It was a good effort all the way around, so thanks to all. I'm not going to say a whole lot more other than, yeah, please watch out for the little kids and all that. I can only tell you one incident where I was driving past Atwater High School here a year or so ago, and one of the kids who was late going to school, he came cutting across right there at Winton Way in Fruitland, right there as I pulled up, and this kid, I don't know what he was thinking. He wasn't thinking, and a car, as we had the green light to go, and this kid came across there, and a car nailed him right in front of me, just bounced him to the ground. But I mean, that's what happens out there. Got to be careful with all those kids out there wandering back and forth and all that. And you know how high school kids were. We were all in high school once, right? You know, 10 foot tall and bulletproof, that's what we all were, you know, so let's just, you know, be extra cautious. It's not just the little kids. It's those, you know, teenagers also. They yeah, they think they're invincible. And also on the dog licensing, as Cindy had mentioned, Sergeant Mark Taylor gave us a very thorough briefing up there, and it's about a $15 reduction in the cost of putting an animal into the shelter over there. And the way it works, anybody can take him over there, and when they ask, where does he come from? Oh, he comes from Atwater. Thank you. There goes the bill right here to City Hall. So in any case, get your dog licensed. The license fees here go towards the effort to keep our costs down. There's also costs to dogs that they find that are injured or ill, and they try to do the best they can to care for those dogs. It's a real struggle for them to, you know, take a look at a dog, and if he's injured or ill, to try and save that particular animal. And sometimes, unfortunately, it does have to be put down. But they do everything they can to ensure that it won't. And it was kind of heartwarming to see while we were there getting briefed. There was one of the workers that was out in the grass area that's enclosed right out the briefing room where we were at. And they had an Atwater dog that had been brought in, and I can't remember what the problems were with it, but it was the dog just wasn't responsive or anything. When first brought in, and here was out there with one of the workers, and one of the care workers, and the dog was running around and playing and having a good old time. So, you know, there's adoptable dogs there. If you're looking for one, that's the place to go. And you know, get them off the street. You know, save them out of there. They hate to euthanize dogs that have been there too long. So please try and do the best you can to make sure that you safeguard the dog that you have so it doesn't become a victim up there, okay? And there's also a group here also that you can donate to called New Beginnings. New Beginnings gets those animals and makes them adoptable. They work with Dog is my co-pilot, where they fly in and load up as many as 70, 80 dogs at a time, and they fly them to places like Montana and Wyoming to non-kill shelters. There's a lot of people out there trying to help the four-legged furry guys, so, and gals. So please try and keep that in mind. And lastly, I just want to bring up this business with the evidence room. I'm asking, and I spoke with Mr. White prior to the meeting tonight. I'm asking everybody, you know, here on the council and what have you, this is not a good thing. We all can say that. But let's save our comments, okay? This is an ongoing investigation. This is something that I don't want to share on Facebook. I don't want to share it with anybody. It's, you know, you know, you share something, you're proud of it, it seems like, and I'm not proud of this. This is something that we have to see to the end of this investigation. Please temper your comments on this. We don't know what's going on. We don't want to speculate. You know, this was a big deal in our closed session. We were told, don't talk about it. Okay, well, it's out there now for whatever reason. Let's not talk about it anymore. Let's, you know, Atwater's got enough black eyes to last us 100 years, maybe longer. Let's just curb our comments on that, okay? I appreciate it. Okay, so let's go see the Dodgers beat up on the Giants, okay? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching at home. God bless you all. Drive safe. This meeting is adjourned.